Happy birthday again. I'm gonna wish you a happy birthday soon. We're going live right now.
Let's go. Please stop him. Somebody.
Now we're live. The problem is I can't see. Can you see yourself on the live feed?
I can.
You know, here it is. I got it. I got it.
Yep, I'm at the top.
Mine wants to go to. I want to be able to read the screen too when questions come in. So let me move this chat out of here.
Can I see the same or?
Yeah, you have to go, pull up the Facebook page, The Human Condition. You could actually share the link and have it be a watch party and let questions come in there too.
Oh my God, you're so over my head. What do? I've got you on main screen right now. On the, do I just minimize you for a second?
Yeah, I'm gonna share the event with you, and then you can just share it as a watch party, and then questions will come in that way. Hey, forgive us.
I'll go onto my phone and I'll look at it on my phone. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. Yep.
All right, so I'll read along with my phone. I've got you live on my phone right now.
So am I on my page? This is funny. This is entertaining right here.
Hey, you know, it's not a perfect world. We'll get off to our discussions and have a good time. Do I just minimize you for a second?
Yeah, I'm gonna share.
All right, we're on a delay on the on that, so I think I got you live. I got you on my phone so I could see all the questions.
Okay. So here we are. Is this us now? Right here? I think it is. Or did it share two lives? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Somebody please help us. Impromptu. That's how we roll. Man, I don't know. I'm just going to roll with that. I don't know if I'm going to see any questions. You'll probably see them before I will.
Well, I'm on the Zoom on the phone, which is connected to Facebook, and then I'm talking to you. I mean, we don't need an audience, dude. Let's roll.
There we are. Yeah, there we are. All right. All right.
So I gotta find it. Hold on. Let me. So we're on, right?
We're on.
All right. Second one. All right. Watch live video. I assume this is the one we're on. All right.
So how you been, man?
Your floor. Hi. I've been great, Vince. You know,
Yeah.
I've been waiting a long time to, you know, collaborate some ideas and, you know, just sit here and BS with you about some politics and watch your show from time to time. And, you know, it's great to see an old Hazel Parker, you know, continuing to do his thing. Remember back in the day, I showed up to one of your movie sets with, I believe it was Trice. You were shooting with that day.
Yeah, we were down at the Kresge Mansion.
That's right. Jared Schock was running security. He did a great job that day.
Jared's probably on here somewhere. I don't know. I'm gonna try to watch on here, see if we got anything popping up. But yeah, man. So you know, everything's so politically divided. You know what's not though is sports. You know, you talk about the MHS. What is that? I was looking at what you got going on with sports, and it's pretty amazing what you're doing with the kids. What is this? MHSAA sports?
Yeah. I'm a high school referee now. You know, I wrestled for many years at Hazel Park. You know, there's a legacy there, and you know, I continue to go on. Got it back into it about 5 years ago, and now I'm reffing. You know, the kids. You know, high school. You know, little kids all the way through high school, and you know, watch. It's very interesting right now what's happening with high school sports and keeping your, you know, I'm trying to keep my ear to the, glued to the set, so to speak, in terms of what are the new rules coming out
Yeah, I
for
didn't
winter
even think.
sports. It's a big to do, and nothing's written in stone at this point, unfortunately. But at least there is talk of a winter season for many of the sports out here at high school level.
I didn't even think about the wrestling thing and COVID. It's crazy what's going on. There's so much happening right now, and it seems like and kids are pretty much what I do everything for, right? From my kids changed me as a human being. People would say that I lean left in my politics. I don't have any politics. I really don't. It's all humanity. Like if compassion exists, I'm for that. If it doesn't exist, I'm not for that. It's real simple for me. And I always think in terms of what examples do I want my kids to live up to? Because I want them to be better than I was. Right? That's what we hope for them. But you get to spend your time with a lot of kids, and for we both got in some trouble when we were younger. Yeah, we
Not innocent.
run-ins with the law, and to see you and Jared out there in your referee costumes or uniforms, and to have me even talking the way I speak, you know what I mean? It's fucking ironic, right? It's not something
Right.
that's to be expected, and the fact that me and you are going to sit here and have a conversation that's more level-headed than some of the people that would call themselves intellectuals on the left and the right. All right, it is. I think it's a testament to core values, like not on the surface values, but core values, integrity and empathy and trying to do unto others as you'd have done unto you. Even though we didn't always do that as kids, but somewhere in us,
Golden rule.
yeah, I mean, somewhere in us, it's always been there for me, even when I was being an asshole. Like it was something that was ingrained, and I don't know if that has something to do with being poor for me, working class. I always had to work to. I don't know. I
As
don't
we all
know.
did.
Yeah, I don't know where it was cemented somewhere. But anyway, I see the Trump sign behind you, and I probably had one of the most logical. It was only a few minutes conversations about why you support President Trump, or you really don't support Trump, right? You support his policies.
I support what the man has done. It's a great question, Vince, and I'll give you kind of a brief summary of where and how I became to be where I'm at right now in terms of my politics. I was never a political guy. All the way growing up, you'd mentioned Hazel Park, came born and bred. My father was a 40-year union member, Teamster, for that matter. Up until this, 2016, I voted Democrat on every election that I was able to after the age of 18. 2016, I felt a huge dilemma. Do I vote for Trump? Do I vote for Hillary? I didn't believe in either party. Trump wasn't a politician. Didn't know where he was going with his politics. If he could be effective, he was scary. He's an asshole. He's a narcissist. He runs his mouth way too much, but the guy has got, and I'll get back to some of his accomplishments and why I've moved towards why I've become a supporter. Hillary, on the other instance, was a career politician. There was a lot of promises made, nothing ever delivered. I saw a lot of crooked behavior. It was mostly smoke and mirrors, and where there's smoke, there's fire.
Mhm.
And that's why I chose not to vote in 2016. 2020, well, let me backtrack. When did I actually start getting into politics? I really had never been into politics the way that I am now. I mean, we can pretty much bring any topic up and I'll have some form of opinion on it because I've really been glued to the set. I really didn't follow a lot of politics. I followed the up and coming, Mueller reports, Robert Mueller reports. And I saw that whole process leading up, and I really didn't think that Trump was the right guy. I thought that America made a mistake, And because I didn't understand politics. And not to say that I do today, I think that I have an opinion. Not that I'm perfect, I just have an opinion. So after the reports came out, and there was definitely some smoke there, but there was no smoking gun. And then shortly thereafter, the impeachment process started, and it was Adam Schiff on TV, and he gave this speech about, and it was supposedly what Trump had said. And now I will preface it by saying that Adam Schiff indicated that it was in essence, this is what he said, and he used the words in essence, but he went on this tirade of telling this lie to all the American people about this conversation that Donald Trump had with the Ukraine. And I watched it. I actually believed it. I actually thought that what he was saying on national television was true. And it sparked my attention to say, oh my God, we have a corrupt Donald Trump. This guy is crazy. And then Donald Trump releases transcripts, 48 hours later or whatever it was, 24, 48 hours later. And the story developed from there. And then Adam Schiff had to go back in front of the same people and tell everybody that he was sorry, and it was a parody. But then that parody continued to turn into the impeachment process.
Right.
Now I was paying attention. And then I'm watching what wasn't just a Democratic perspective, it was a hyper partisan perspective from the left side. And everything that was coming out was so anti. They don't like, it's not that they dislike the man's politics, they just don't like the man. And I
Right.
got to be honest with you, I don't like the man. Okay. Foreign trade, and we could go on even further. I'll stop there and let you comment on that.
Well, I agree with what you say in terms of, so we have these two polls, right? Donald Trump, is he adequate to run the office? He's, in my opinion, no. But I believe he was necessary in these 4 years. I think with Hillary, we get more of the same, right? And I don't believe there's some agenda other than maintain power. Like that's what the establishment wants at all costs, maintain power. So, and what the politicians up until now were good at doing was hiding what's really going on. But people who are smart, street smart especially, we knew there's crooks. We know they're all crooks. To get to that position, you have to play the game to a certain extent. And I'll be honest, when Trump first announced himself, I was interested. I was really interested because I was sick of it too. I'm like, they don't represent me. I'm going back to the no taxation without representation, like fuck them all kind of thing. Like I'm showing up on inauguration day. So I'm trying to gather and saying whoever takes office, you eliminate campaign finance on day one, or we stop paying taxes. Like I don't. And I think Biden's the easier enemy to defeat, right? Because some of the Trump supporters are very fanatic, and you put Jesus and Trump there, they're voting Trump. So I just think it's an easier path to navigate with the wishy-washy Democrats and all their inter-party fighting. I could be wrong, but so I don't support either of them. And I don't dislike Trump so much because I understand that he's a narcissistic sociopath, right? And that's a severe disorder. I have PTSD. I've spent my entire life getting on the other side of PTSD. And I know that people will call him racist. They'll call him misogynist. Well, he's not really exclusive to any one of those things. When you're a narcissist, and especially a sociopathic narcissist, your only goal in life is to win. You've been crushed so bad as a child from the third trimester till you're about 3 years old. You've been programmed that the only thing you know is to win. So as soon as you get your ego gets threatened, whatever you prop yourself up on, you're fighting for survival. So you get stuck back here below the amygdala, and you go into fight or flight. So this guy's living in a state of fight or flight. When he's out there playing victim, he's not playing. Like he really believes it, and that's a sad place to be. And people, so it's hard for me to really bash him. My daughter can't look up to him, right? My son can't. So I have to take that into account. And the fact that he is so he's so easily influenced, and this is where the Democrats and their foul agenda, the extreme left, this is where they screwed up, because they could have got some policies done with a guy like that. If you stroke his ego and you kind of finesse him into a direction rather than telling him how shitty he is, which he's going to defend himself against, you get nothing now. Now you got somebody who's constantly on the defense because you're attacking him. So I was interested in Trump until he spoke. It was the first time he stepped on the stage, and his temperament was just so off that I was like, man, I remember having that temperament, and I would have never voted myself. I still would. I have a pretty even temperament these days, and I'm not equipped to get up there and do that thing. Like that's a very difficult job. But but he was necessary. I'm appreciative of the fact that he was there and he shook things up. I don't want him to have another 4 years, because I don't know. He's got some puppet masters behind him that are really stroking his ego. You know, the Republicans hated him. But then they're the ones that jumped in and said, well, it's party over people. So let's ride this wave. I don't know what they got in store. And I don't know if it's anything demonic or what. I don't get into those dumbass conspiracy theories.
You know, if I may interject, you know,
Yes.
I mean, I want to hit on a couple points, and please feel free to, you know, interrupt me, you know, when I'm talking and we've made some points. I think this is what makes this discussion even better. You know, you've said a couple key words, and the number one word that you said to me was necessary. Okay. Back in 2008, or whatever a year it was, when Barack Obama came up first year, it was 8, right? Yeah. That was his first year. He ran against John McCain and the lady from Washington. But Barack Obama was necessary. A Democrat was necessary in the office after George Bush and the 2011 act, or the whole thing, 2000, you know, the 9/11 act,
9/11 Iraq invasion,
all the way through that presidency. We needed a Democrat in office at that time, in my opinion. You know, I was working in the banking sector. I was sitting in my office. My industry was affected by 9/11, and George Bush, you know, carried that whole administration, you know, under, you know, that's his regime. That's his administration, the whole 9/11 thing. And did he handle it properly afterwards? No, I don't think he did. Barack Obama inherited an absolute disaster. A disaster. And anybody who says that he didn't do good or any good, okay, I don't know a lot of the politics from that era, you know, in terms of the way that they discuss politics today, but I do remember the financial aspect. And the Obama administration did a lot of things for the housing market and the financial industries that, quite frankly, they were necessary. Again, back to your word, necessary. What was necessary? That's why I feel Trump, you know, you talked about fanatics. You know, we've got a lot of fanatics out there. Who's right? Who's wrong? Everybody's coming, you know, they're not willing to work with Donald Trump because of his, you know, the way that he speaks or some of his policies. And to be honest with you, again, it goes back to my previous statement. And I want you to remember these words. Hyper partisan is the world we live in. Yeah. Everybody is high, and the left is more responsible for this than the right, in my opinion. But I don't think the right is much far off from having guilt in this sense either.
Well, the left are responsible. Oh, sorry. The left are responsible for identity politics. They are the originators of that. So that and then it's been back and forth ever since. So I agree that that's where it spawned from. That's all I was saying on it.
I don't, you know, I'm seeing some stuff about PTSD. You know, somebody is commenting on that. What's your perspective on the PTSD part? I'm not understanding that. Rick Morty, good call.
No, I wouldn't say he doesn't have PTSD. No,
I want this to be interactive.
I related the condition. I'm able to relate to his narcissism, his sociopathic tendencies through my PTSD. I'm not saying he has PTSD.
Well, then you and I would both have that, because
probably
I've experienced those types of incidents, you know, growing up.
Yes. So, well, here's the thing. Here's what people PTSD gets. I didn't know till 2013. I was diagnosed. I didn't know what was going on with me. There were these patterns, and they didn't make sense. And I
Are you
found
in
out
the
that they were
military then?
emotional flashbacks.
I apologize. Were you in the military?
No, no. And I
So
thought it
where
was a
this
military thing.
PTSD is coming from where we grew up and how we grew up.
Yeah. Well, so
I
I'm,
think
I'm
it's
doing a
valid.
round.
I
I'm doing
don't disagree with it.
No, no, I'm doing a roundtable with there's a book called The Body Keeps the Score, best book on trauma ever written. I'm doing a roundtable with the author pretty soon. We actually got a planning meeting tomorrow. So through my own journey with PTSD, because I was like, well, how? I'm not a veteran. That's how I understood it. And then I started understanding that, well, we all suffer trauma. Now, from the third trimester until you're 3 years old, you're being programmed, right? And your relationship with your caregivers is the essential tool that you need to be able to navigate trauma effectively, because we're going to experience things in life. There's going to be pain. That's how we grow. Now, the person who has disorganized attachment, meaning they're abused or they're abandoned when they're a kid, their caregivers, they might give them a bottle, but they might leave the house at any given time. So for me, I developed disorganized attachment. I didn't trust the world. I didn't know any of this. This is, it's all programmed. And then I grew up with this distrust, and I was always defensive and angry. I didn't know any of it. It's just what it was. It's what life was to me. So when a guy like Donald Trump, who's a textbook narcissist, textbook sociopath, you got to put it in perspective, right?
Narcissist. I would argue the sociopath aspect, but I would agree with you on narcissists. But go ahead.
A lot of times they go hand in hand, but yeah, and it could be, but he when your life is propagated on your self-worth is put on things that are outside of you and what you can achieve, and that's how you get daddy's attention or mommy's attention or whatever. When that's all it's an empty place to be, even when you are successful. So it puts you on a path to where
where are you coming from with this about Donald Trump? Can you give me a relative reason why you feel Donald Trump would be related into a story like a guy like you and me? We came from working class parents. We got to where we are because of our hard work, and we had support. Donald Trump became one of the most biggest icons in the business world across the world. Okay. And then he became the president of the United States. Where is he absorbing PTSD or
trauma?
Does a guy like Donald Trump have social performance issues? Yes. In terms of PTSD, and I agree with you on narcissists, but not the extreme. I really don't. We've all seen him in moderate settings, and before he became president, Black people loved him. Jewish people still, love him. Everybody loved Donald Trump. His show was a #1 hit on television. Now, that doesn't translate into the White House, but he was a loved person in the world, not just by every race. There's facts on this, Vince. He's committed and spent a lot of money and donated a lot of money to various organizations and various aspects, to just giving back. And then when he became president, all of a sudden everybody hates him. Now, I don't like what I see on TV. I don't even have a Twitter account. All right. So I get it. I don't like people who just go out and blabber everything, and he puts out a lot of disinformation out there. But everybody does the same thing. That's politics. And we have to separate ourselves from what makes a person a bad person and what makes politics politics. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but you answered your own question. And his reactions, if you're a confident man in that position of power, you don't have to defend yourself at every little attack. You don't have to take to Twitter to make sure that people still adore you. You don't have to do those things. What's that?
100%. That's the thing I don't like about Donald Trump. He thinks
that's the condition. That's the condition. That's what doesn't translate into politics. And look,
he's not a politician. He's just a businessman.
No, he's not.
An asshole. Here's our vote in 2020. Pick an asshole businessman or a regular, standard, talk shit politician. That's the two we have to choose from.
Well, there
It's
has to be a plan behind that. Like, so my plan is, okay, there's a movement going on. There's a people movement, and it's to take down the two-party system, to dismantle campaign finance. If we can be honest about anything, the problem is the two-party system. It doesn't represent anybody, unless except for the select few
who's
that
the
are
liberal party again, Vince? Don't mean to cut you off. It's Joe Josephine or something like that.
Joe Jorgensen. She's a
Joe
liberal.
Jorgensen,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I read some of her views, and she's just a little, she's got some right and left in her. But she, a friend of mine, Mike Staszewski, sent me some information on her, and there's some things about her that I like. But there was many views. There was like one or two things I liked about her, and she is what would it be? The Liberated Party, or I don't know.
Yeah, she's a libertarian.
Libertarian, sorry. So I read some things about her. I liked what she had to say about COVID. I liked what she had to say about, she had an idea about Social Security and turning it into, getting rid of that and turning it into an investment account, over the lifetime of somebody. And those are radical ideas, man. We're not in a position right now for radical leftism or socialist policies, in my opinion. You said necessary. The world, or not the world, the United States, it's necessary for a Republican to build on what he started. And that's why I'm supporting him. I think he did start something. I see you shaking your head. What's your thought on that? I think he started something, and he should be allowed to finish it.
I don't think that the problem is the foundation that he's standing on. It doesn't matter what ideas because Obama, I was excited about Obama. Just the hope and the fact that he was the first, there was change. He embodied change. And then he gets into this fucked up system where you can't do anything. And these partisan politics block you at every stretch. And it'll be the same for him. The puppet masters will always win. So the problem isn't so much him. And maybe he shifted his entire demeanor and said, and became overnight said, and obviously he sees the ghost of Christmas past or some shit and becomes this beautiful man that just wants to help everybody. He's still going to be blocked by the powers that be. And that's the problem. He's building on a shitty foundation. Now, that's where I believe we do need something radical, but radical in the direction of compassion and humanity. Marianne Williamson.
Puppet masters, if I can for a minute, Vince. You talk about puppet masters, and Donald Trump being the narcissist guy that he is, that guy, he skips to his own beat. And this is not a pro for Donald Trump. I think that's part of his issue. He doesn't listen to some of the people that have more intelligence about politics. He just goes out there and he sends it out raw. You talk about a puppet. On the other side, I really don't think that we're voting for Joe Biden right now. I think that we are anybody who's on the left, any Democrat who's on the left is voting for Kamala Harris. And
or voting against Trump.
Why do you think that Nancy Pelosi brought out the 25th Amendment? It wasn't because of Donald Trump's not being cognizant to run the office. She is setting that up because if Joe Biden is elected, they are going to go after him because he has any person on the left who doesn't agree with me that Joe is not compromised from a cognitive as well as a foreign policy position. I don't have more of a discussion above and beyond that. We all have to agree that Trump is this, Biden is this.
Right. And neither one's right.
And I don't think either one is right.
Yeah. That's when it comes to it's not that I want Biden in office, that I think he's even remotely right for the job. And is he compromised? Yeah. Is Trump compromised? Yeah. I mean, we're dealing with nobody picked this. And that's why I'm saying we got to get to like in Canada, they have 5 parties. There's a limited number of money that you can spend on your campaign because you shouldn't be injecting money into a 6-figure, you're trying to win this job that pays you 6 figures. Well, there's another reason you're spending $1 billion on a campaign to get that position. There's something going on that's not in service of the people. So you take campaign finance out and you say, recap each campaign at $1 million, whatever. I'm just throwing shit out there. And you have 5 parties. And look, I'll feel good about losing if there's 5 parties and everybody gets a fair vote. I'll feel
Right.
good about losing, and I can take that a lot more than where the majority of people are not represented. And when I say puppet masters, it's that 1%. Because Trump would be dead if he didn't listen to someone like Kennedy died. You know what I mean? Bernie, if he would have gotten office, he would be dead if he didn't play the
I
game.
may have supported. I would have come close to supporting a Bernie,
I
but I
did
wanted
support
to
him.
hear some more of his ideas and thoughts. He's a little. There's a question out here that I don't want to get too far ahead because I do want to interact with our people here.
Yeah.
Joseph Amara asked, define radical. Radical to me is, in my opinion, you're talking about, eliminating fossil fuel, even discussing those things in the short term, going to packing the court. Now, I understand these are all right side talking points, but, there's some radical things that are out there, I mean, you listen to, I wish I could give you more examples, Joe, because I'd really like to. It's a little late in the evening, but, radical left is, like AOC and some of these other, I mean, there's a lot of ideas out there that I'm not sure. And I don't think packing the court is a horrible idea, based on the amount of people we have in the country these days. But, a lot of these extremists, defunding police or taking some of the authority away from the police or, allowing, this is where I get from radical. Radical to me, and this is my definition. Joe, this is to you. Radical is watching people riot in the streets, leftist media sitting in the back or standing on camera saying everything's peaceful with buildings burning behind them. That's radical idealism. To say that those things are not radical that are happening, even though I understand what's going on and why in their mindsets they think that this is right, that's not right. Portland, Oregon, the free zone, that was completely radical, and that shouldn't have been allowed to go on as long as it did. Those are radical ideas. Support for that type of situation is radical to me. It may not be to you, Joe, or Vince, or anybody else out there, but that I'm a moderate. I'm not a conservative. That was radical to me. And there's so many more examples we could probably spout off. But, when it comes to the conservatives, I think the conservatives are crazy to think that, they can't, that everything is perfect in their world. Like racism doesn't exist. And, there isn't changes to be made within our police departments, more education. Some of these guys don't belong with guns and batons. They don't belong wearing badges.
So let me ask you this, Brian. When the system isn't listening, because it really boils down to the haves and the have-nots. We can you know what I mean? That's really what it is. And in America, racism exists the way that it does because of the North Atlantic slave trade. So there was this difference in skin tone, and they used it, right? But at the end of the day, if we were to take away the race card from the government, we would find out who the haves and the have-nots are real quick. So again, I'm back on no taxation without representation.
Who's the haves and have-nots, Vince?
The haves are, well, we're in a corporatocracy. That's what we exist in now. The corporations run this country, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. It's bad. The way medical prices are, they'll let an old person die on the street without, like, that's bad shit. That's not compassionate.
Agreed.
Anything that goes in. So no taxation without representation is where I am. And that's all of us. Because at the end of the day, if the haves, the 1%, they want to invoke martial law, and then you got the people that are going to follow them because, well, they're giving me a job. Well, you might have Nazi Germany on your hands again. Not saying Nazi Germany in the same way, but a lot of the same things are happening today. A lot the fighting, the propaganda.
Vince, it's the haves that are out in the street causing all this trouble. It's the 30-year-old kid who lives at home with their mom and dad that's out there, with a bachelor's degree and doing nothing with it. Our times have changed since guys like you and I, when we were in our teens, growing up into our adulthood. I see more of these. I see more radicals, or excuse me, I'll stop using the term radical. I see more of the extremists out there being white people standing in streets yelling Black Lives Matter. I believe Black Lives Matter. I believe every life matters. Okay. But why are the 25 to 30-year-olds out there? Where did they get all this time? Why are they trying to destroy everything? Because it's not African Americans that are out there destroying things. The riots are happening, and I mean, I could be put on point, based on what's going on down.
We can generalize because we really don't know.
But no, I mean, this is both left and right. The normal, and these statistics have been proven, the average person out there rioting is a white woman or male, ages 25 to 30. Why? I didn't hear any African American communities saying that these people had to speak on their behalf. It's just, where is this idealism coming from? Where is this hate coming from? We have to stop that hate and that divide.
The Black Lives Matter, the movement was hijacked. I mean, it was hijacked.
They live with their parents. They are definitely a have. They have everything they want.
That's not always true.
Okay. If they live with their parents, they have everything they want. Okay?
They don't have independence.
Trust me.
They don't have independence.
That's a choice for a kid to make. I have 4, 26, 22, 17, 16, and a stepchild of 17. Both of my kids are out. They had a choice. Move out, get your own independence. Stay here, live under my rules, live under my castle, my regime. Because in my house, that's the way it runs. Out in the real world, you could be an adult. You could do what you want to do. That's to that comment. Ask Alexis. Alexis, you live at home with your parents? You are a have. You are not have not. Trust me.
She could be taking care of her parents.
I took care of my parents when I was 17 years old. I had to get a job because my mom had epilepsy.
So were you a have?
I took care of her for 2 years. I gave her all of my paychecks.
But you weren't a have, though, right? That's the point I'm making. Because
I was never a have.
Right. So
Alexis, never a have. You know me.
Isn't a have.
I grew up in Hazel Park, Michigan. By the time I was 14 years old, I was in juvenile detention, fighting, incarcerated. Okay, made a lot of mistakes. At 16, 17 years old, my parents, I had a single mom. My mom did what she could. All right, but at 17, I turned my life around. I got a lot of chances given back to me, and I didn't. I never took them for granted. I wanted to make that change. I wanted everybody to see that I wasn't what I was becoming. I made those decisions to do what I did on my own. And from doing that, it gave me a lot of character. It gave me a lot of, self-respect, that people were seeing me in a different light from the juvenile delinquent that I was just a few years prior. I graduated from an alternative high school, barely made it through high school, and then went on to become a mortgage person, a banker, a financial guy, and gave back a lot to my community. When I became at my peak of my success, I started calling all of my Hazel Park friends, and we built an empire. Quite frankly, a very big empire in the mortgage industry. And it was only because of them and their hard work, and the fact that we saw eye to eye from such a lower level of the real world, that we were able to work together and become successful. But we all had to know how to do something, and it wasn't how you had to be taught how to do something, because we weren't college educated kids. We just learned something, we enjoyed it, and then we ran with it, and we developed something that quite frankly, had never been done in the history of mortgage lending. That's another topic, which I'm sure we'll get into later.
We'll get into it. Because that's the fun stuff. Yeah, but there's a saying, and I can't remember who it's from. Nothing is real until it's experienced. So for us to speak from our experience, for example, for the Alexis thing, you truly don't know what her life experience is, but you were quick to jump on that because we do that when we get heated. So when we talk about these kids, we don't know what they're
said when you live off your parents, which is what I believe a lot of these kids are doing that are protesting.
They may, but at the same time, I've never experienced that. And neither of you. We had to pull ourselves. I mean, we didn't have it
now with my children.
I'm not there yet.
I've had to light a fire. I've had to light a fire under their butts to get them out, because that's what life is all about. You can sit back and and do what you got to do, and apologize to Alexis if that's her case and her circumstance. But if the other circumstance is that she's taking care of as you put it, that's how I started my career. That was actually what started my drive. And having to become successful was because I had to take care of my mom in the 17 years old. Yeah. It was a godsend, because if it wasn't, for this opportunity I was given, nobody would have made it in my family. And I don't think I'd be sitting here talking to you today the way that I do. So yes, we could all be defensive, jump on the bandwagon real quick. And I try, thank you for pointing that out. I'll try to be better going forward.
Well, no, it's good that we're having a conversation. Could we have this conversation when we were in high school? No. Fuck no. There's the fists are being thrown. The second your ego feels infringed upon, that, you know what I mean? You tighten up and it's go time. But the fact that it can even be, and the point I was making is that's what's going on out there. They're in their own experience and way deeper than we are, stuck in their defense mechanisms. And when you're stuck there, nothing can get solved. So the left and the right, it's just bam, 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 bam. They're just bouncing shit off each other. That's all they're doing. And
if I may take the time, just because we're keeping this interactive, Alexis, I apologize if I offended you. I was merely speaking on behalf of the fact that, my point was a lot of these people that are out there protesting, they are living off parents, and there's no denying that probably 60 to 70%, it's actually recorded that most kids move back home with their parents, and most are just there for a very short period of time while they pay off their student loans and get on their feet. And I support that. But it's those that don't take that effort and just continue, and their parents allow them to sponge and feed off of them. And I respect you if you're taking care of your family. I did the same thing. Our generation is different from that of the ones that are coming up right now. My teenagers and my kids. And I've had to take action on that. And to your point, what I went through back in the day, I don't think there's a kid who grew up in Hazel Park like me that doesn't suffer PTSD.
No, you're right.
Not one of us that doesn't suffer PTSD from many different aspects. Fighting, oh my God. I mean, Vince,
that's just what it was.
Thousands, hundreds.
Yeah.
I mean, of absolute, it was a jungle. But we survived, which is why we're here to talk about it now. So
it was normal.
I apologize if I offended you. Great.
Thank you. I mean, that's big of you, man. But that was normal for us, and I didn't know it wasn't normal. I remember this one. So I was fighting all the time, and I got to high school, and I'm not going to say his name because the first time I ever got sucker punched and knocked out. He was a senior, and he just ran up sucker. I didn't know I was getting hit, because I had been fighting I was fighting all the time. I was sick of fighting. And this dude sucker punched me, knocked me out. And then I remember being at a football game one night, and the guy wanted to start again. And I remember you going, "Why are you running from him?" I'm running through cars laughing and shit. I was sick of fighting. I was sick of fucking that shit. It bothered me, but so it was either knuckle up or, you know what I mean? Or get chased. Fuck that. So I didn't know how abnormal our upbringing was until I went to Northern. When I went away to college, I saw people push fighting, you know what I mean? And having heated discussions without fist. I'm like, what the? It was the weirdest shit to me. Then LA, I was like, oh my God, we lived in a bubble, you know, and how do we get outside of the bubble? You talk about the younger generation now, without judging them, and without judging the right or the left, how do we get into their heads to prompt them into constructive conversation? Because what the left did with Trump, well, that's not how you get a guy who's a narcissist into a conversation. That's how you validate his
Let's
mental illness.
differentiate the two, Vince. I mean, are we talking about Hazel Park upbringing, or are we talking about politics?
It's all relative. It's all. I'm just talking about people.
There's two different selective things here. You know, when we grew up, yeah, I mean, I agree with you. It wasn't until I got into the corporate world, which I went from like overnight. Went from being straight thug to I'm working in an office and I got a bunch of Bloomfield Hills, Birmingham guys, you know, and I'm from Hazel Park. I'm full street. They're all, you know, much different. And where they're from, they can talk crap to you.
Yeah.
And okay, where I'm from, you talk crap to me, I'm going to beat you up.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
back
just
in
what
that
it means.
mindset, and when I'm 19 years old, you know, and it was really different. I had to really check myself, and I had to learn really fast how to, you know, what would you say? Yeah, chameleon myself to that environment very
Yeah.
quickly, you know, without, you know, the drama, you know, but it was crazy. And I think that I really do think that where we grew up is not much different than where a lot of people grew up or how they grew up. It just depends on where they, you know, what social gathering
Socioeconomic.
at that time, you
Yeah.
know. But I mean, yes, things have changed, you know, dramatically. Could you imagine if there were video cameras back in our day?
Nope.
You and I wouldn't be,
No. Prison
we
for
wouldn't
sure.
be anywhere around.
Yeah. Done.
Most of our friends wouldn't be around. I
We're
mean, the world
done.
has changed. You know, it's become less violent, in my opinion, except for what you're seeing exposed and radicalized on TV by the media, both right and left.
But
Both right and
that's
left
valid.
is fucking horrible. They're both devils, both of them.
That what you just said is valid though, because I never really thought about it, and I'm trying to take it in perspective. And so this generation has been more violent towards themselves through heroin, opiates. They're killing themselves, right? There's this pain that they're living. These guys that are girls that are living with their parents. That's a pain that I don't want to suffer. To not know freedom, to not even want to get there. That's a depression. So maybe they found an opportunity to exert that, because their anger is misdirected. They just know they're angry, right? And
Maybe
they've been living with this shit.
Just aren't taking enough time with them, Vince.
Yeah,
You know,
right. And how, because that whole millennial generation just feels like they were abandoned completely. There's no policies in place that really support them, right? They're burdened with college debt. They're, you know, the world's going to shit around them, and they had an opportunity to get behind a cause that.
but Vince, their lives are no different than that of my brothers or anybody else. My sister, or you know, graduate of Michigan, you know, Michigan State's, you know, came out with $60,000 in debt. They made a choice. They made a
Everybody
choice.
makes choices.
Hard. So if
Everyone makes
you
choices.
know, it really depends. You know, we could get into economics at this point, because if you go to a school, you know, for, you know, get your bachelor's to be a teacher, unfortunately, teachers are way underpaid. Way underpaid.
Yeah.
You're not going to pay off. And the only time you can even make more than 50, 60,000 is if you have a master's, which costs you $100,000.
Yeah.
So you can never get ahead of the game. It's really a disservice. You know, I mean, we really have to take a look at that, you know, from all economical perspectives about teachers and some of our public servants, you know, just mainly in the teaching profession. You know, why is, you know, grades 6 through 12, why is it so hard for teachers to make an honest buck? And, you know, especially young teachers out of the gate, you know, that's economics,
Yeah.
you know, and but I don't think
our priorities are wrong.
Well, I don't think any of these kids are any less off than any of us were when we grew, you know, when we came up. We just took the bull by the horns and said, I got to go out and get a job and make money and earn. These days, it seems like people are taking more and more time to figure out their path and what they want to do and where they want to go. And I don't know what else to say about that. It just seems like a delay in the process.
Well, are you, I mean, and you made the point earlier, this generation is burdened with something called social media. So there's a 24-hour bully cycle now. There's this constant comparison to their peers. They all want to be influencers. And, at a certain point, adults, we have to take responsibility for the time we allowed them in that space, because that's not all our response. Everyone has a choice, right? And there's a consequence for every choice that we make, whether that's good or bad. There's always going to be a consequence for it. But it's so easy for us as adults and as people in our position, as white males, to point a finger out there into an experience that isn't our own and say, well, it has to be coming from that experience because I haven't experienced it. The thing that makes me okay, and I have a long way to go, but I always take it back into me. I'm like, okay, I don't like that Donald Trump became president, but I had something to do with that. I'm part of the collective consciousness, and this disruption that we see, I had to have taken part in it, whether it was choice or subconsciously. I had to have. So what can I do about me that's going to change that? And then that's where when I get into the spiritual stuff, man, it's just, I'm trying to illuminate the space I occupy before I leave it. And I'm telling my kids, your responsibility is to illuminate the space you occupy while you occupy it. Don't make it any bigger or grander than that. Just do good for people that you can do good for. Don't
People
lie.
have a
Don't
choice,
cheat.
Vince. There's my point. People have a choice to sit on their ass and do nothing or go after it all. Okay.
Right.
I didn't have a choice. I had to go after it or fail. It was sit back and do nothing with my life or go out and make it happen. I was not one that was given a silver spoon. I had to work hard for everything I've ever earned.
Where do you think the hope was instilled?
A lot of success for a lot of people because of my one opportunity. I had the one opportunity and I offered that opportunity to others, and their hard work showed and paid off because of that opportunity. You have to want it. It's not what you know, it's who you know. And the more that these young people and anybody else coming up realize that it's not what you know, it's who you know. Yes, the degree, it's a game changer, but it again falls down to who you know.
Well, you got to treat your fellow humans good, right? You got to
it.
live a life of integrity. So people want to be around you. They want to hire you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's extremely important. What do you think in your life? Because I had that same opportunity. I could have went back to juvie, could have stayed in jail. Like a lot of the people around me did. They're in prison, they're dead. And there was something that my mom instilled, and I know it came from her because, we used to get our ass beat from my dad when I was younger, the biological. And she would pull me to the side and say, because he would say, you ain't going to be shit. You're never going to be shit like me. Who talks to a fucking 4-year-old like that? You know what I mean? But sick. But I get it. You know what I mean? And she would pull me to the side and say, you can be whatever you want to be. Whatever you want to be, you can be it. And I had that. So I had these two sides of me. And I opted to go with the one that said, yeah, I'm going to be what I want to be. And I went after it. What about the person that doesn't have that exposure? Because I remember growing up in Detroit, and I remember having to walk by Blight on the way to school. And I remember the block cheese, man. And I remember, it was different. Once we crossed 8 Mile, life got different, especially as a white person. As soon as we crossed 8 Mile, it just wasn't the same. There was more opportunity. We were still Hazel Park and poor as fuck, right? But it was different than what I was exposed to in the city. When I looked around, there wasn't really hope, and to my mom's credit, she would take us into Grosse Pointe and we would Christmas carol and shit like that. It gave options in a place where you're very limited in what you see. And if your parents, I guess I'm asking, how your relationship with your parents, did they show you things that opened up neural pathways to the possibility that life could be different than what it was? Because I know my mom did that for us. She would show us things and then that would open neural pathways. Oh, it doesn't have to be that. And this is all hindsight, right?
My mom talked about it. My mom talked about it and then backed it up with, setting an example. Same with my father, but there was abuse, from my father, and I'm not afraid to talk about that. But both were, very hardworking, individuals, both smart, but both working class, blue
Yeah.
collar, working class. It was a matter of you could do whatever you want, et cetera, et cetera. I don't want to beat the dead horse. I hope that we have, let's move on to some other topics if you have anything, Vince. I had something, we wanted to get into some different topics. I'd love to discuss some other topics. I mean, they're kind of all relative and they kind of all bounce into each other. But do you have anything else?
Yeah. Well, what what is sport? What is sports? What is this program with the kids? What does this do for you? Like,
Well,
how does this ground
it's
you?
it's not just about sports. I was kind of more going. I was kind of leaning towards. I know this is your podcast. I wanted to get your opinion on some of what's happening in the media right now.
Mhm.
Leading up to the final 11-3. We don't need to get into the kids stuff. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But what are your thoughts? I know that you're not really Democrat or Republican or left or right. Things have come out about, I really wanted to get your opinion about, two topics. We'll get to the second one. I want the meaty one first. What are your thoughts about I'm not going to say the Hunter Biden videos because I don't think they're relevant to the topic, but the Hunter Biden emails that, implicate Joe Biden, and several other, people in the cabinet, and how this plays into the debate and why the left is refusing to acknowledge it or report it. Do you have any thought on this?
The only thought is it's politics as usual, right? So I take Trump with Russia, grain of salt. Obama, Hillary, Benghazi, grain of salt. The truth is, I don't know what's going on out there, and you never know when you're being misdirected. So he's a politician, a dirty politician. He's part of the problem. It's the same on both sides. That's my thought. It's like I'm not going to get caught in that issue because it's irrelevant. Because I need you gone. My kids aren't growing up in this shit. You got to go. This system has to fucking go. That's
What
my goal.
system are you saying has to go?
The two-party system. Two-party system, campaign finance has to be eliminated. This has to go back to being a party, a republic, a democratic republic for the people, where we all feel like we're at least getting a vote that matters. We're not being forced into a position where it's the lesser of two evils, and well, that's what you got. Fuck you. Fuck you. We fought no taxation
You are
without
not, so you're
representation. That's
not
why we're here.
right, but you are not supporting Joe Biden, which means that you are not voting for Joe Biden. Is that what you're telling?
I'm voting against Donald Trump. So
But
the only
you're
reason I
you're
would like to see
supporting.
Biden in office is I think that it would be easier to navigate a political revolution that way. Because he doesn't really have any supporters. People who are voting for Biden are either voting against Trump or just because it's what the Democratic Party offered, but they don't think he's good. And on Trump's side, there's people that genuinely are passionate and believe he's good. So that's going to be a harder fight to navigate, right? So if we get the Trump supporters on our side, if Biden gets in office, because they hate the government anyway. So now we can really unify. This is me being idealistic, but I don't think too idealistic. I think if we've ever been presented a time in our existence to make a change, it's now. It's now, and that's fuck them both as far as I'm concerned. Like
I read
that system.
something today. I read something, and it kind of goes to your point. Okay. The right. Yeah, I'm going to give you just a right and left. Okay. Kind of a story. Right. Biden has been caught lying so much is embarrassing. Left. Well, Trump lies also. Right. So how do you feel about the fact that there's proof corruption with the Bidens? Left. Trump is corrupt also. Right. What about all the racist statements Biden has said and all the things he's done? Left. So what? Trump's a racist. Right. What about the lady who accused Biden of sexual abuse, Tara Reid? So what? Trump's also been accused of sexual abuse with the hooker. Right. Do you feel comfortable putting Biden in office when he clearly has signs of dementia? So what? He's better than Trump. as you just said.
I
Right.
didn't say better.
How
He's
so?
easier to take
How
out.
so? Hey, how so? Because he ain't Trump. This is real. Left. Because he ain't Trump. Right. So even though he's proven Biden is everything that you hate about Trump for supposedly being, you are still going to vote for Joe. Left. Yes. That's the truth. That is 100% the truth.
Well, it's both.
Everything that the left hates Donald Trump for, Joe Biden is responsible for. And you just want to vote him in because you don't like Trump, even though Biden has shown every example of why the left hates Trump. Every example. And we could debate on this because I could go in major depth, all right, with any person toe to toe, okay, talking about this particular topic. This is not a pro-Trump. This is a pro-democracy. I don't like Trump as a person. Do I like his foreign policies? Yes. Do I like the tariffs? Do I like the trade agreements? I do. I like the taxes he's putting on them. I like everything that he's doing with foreign company or foreign policies. As far as the United States, he is failing to unite us.
I love how you so that's where I'm going with this is what Biden won't do, because they still feign diplomacy. They still think they're the party of the people, right? And they're still going to fake it. They're still going to be diplomatic. The thing with Trump being a narcissist, he's not, I don't think he's maliciously inciting hatred, but there's an underbelly, and you can't deny that this underbelly likes a lot of the things he says. They latch onto that. And I don't think Trump has ill will.
I don't believe that. I truly don't see it. That I think that is generated by the hatred for this man. I don't see him. I mean, again, there are pictures of him, back in his early days before he was a president. Nobody ever called Donald Trump a racist.
I'm not talking about him being a racist at all. I'm talking about
not dividing anybody. It's the left dividing themselves from him. The left, ever since nobody thought he'd become the president. And then after he did,
I'm not talking about the left either, Brian.
Melting down, dude. People melted down over this topic. And he's not a politician. And
I'm talking about what I see. I'm not talking about the left. They separated, yes. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about there's these cells of people, this hatred, this anger that has been fueled by his rhetoric.
Name an example.
President, you can't be the president and say you can't have the I don't care how much you hate her policies. Governor Whitmer, right after there's an abduction attempt on her, you can't go up there and say lock her up and incite you can't do that. Like I don't care what side you're on.
Who do you think helped her get not abducted? Who do you think helped her? It was Trump's administration. It was his security.
But it doesn't matter. What are people seeing that don't think like you?
Okay, now we're going to go from federal government politics to state politics, and
no, I'm not even talking politics.
But it is. Governor Whitmer put a lockdown restriction on Michigan to the utmost outrageous proportions that are still and the Michiganders will feel this for years to come. And why? Because she was too hard-headed, because she was going to be potentially the next vice presidential candidate. She had to follow her P's and Q's. She went right along with the left sides of policy, and that's why she took her stance. We still have 3 more years left of Governor Whitmer, all right? But after this election is over, we'll see where it comes into play. However, governors, as Trump said, governors and local state authorities have governing power over their own states. So if Trump tries to interject or get himself involved in Whitmer's policies or Michigan politics, then he's going against what he has said about these people. Now, do I agree with him about Whitmer? I don't really agree with him about anything he says about anybody, but I do believe with the Michigan people that stand idly saying that Whitmer is making a mistake by continuing to close down our businesses, our communities, our schools, and our sport programs. This is the fabric of our state and our communities. Everybody's all full blown about the coronavirus. My girl is a nurse, works on the front line with it every day. Back in April, definitely deadly, still contracting. We're doing a lot more testing. The virus that's coming in these days through many medical professionals, I don't care what you hear from the politicians, this is a different strain that we're seeing, except for on the west side of the state of Michigan. They're still going through some of what I believe was that beginning strain. It has mutated. It is not. I'm going to tell you right now, Vince, I think you and I both had coronavirus at some point
Probably
in the last 12 months.
well,
I
in
guarantee
November I could have.
but I didn't test myself. I didn't get a
know.
test, which now all the numbers are going up for COVID positive tests or COVID positive cases. Why? Because back in May, Nancy Pelosi said we need to have more testing. Now we have more testing so we can control the virus, and we're still responding to the positive testing like we have to shut down the nation. I don't agree with that.
Yeah,
I really don't agree.
Well, I don't agree with any of them politicizing a fucking virus. I got a problem with that. I think the Democrats make themselves look fucking stupid when they go out there and try to blame the economy on Trump when the virus came. Like there's just things that the political things that they throw at each other is bullshit. But that's politics as usual. I want to get back to the human aspect, and if you don't see that in Trump's tough guy persona, that he incites an underbelly, not intentionally. I don't think he does it intentionally. I think he does it to win, right? I think he allows that because it props him up, it gets him votes. But he made a valid point when he first stepped into office, and he said, I could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and I wouldn't lose a vote. And I think that says something about the base that he knows he's fueling. That's like, I don't.
It's a very radical statement that goes back to 2010.
No, it was right before he got elected.
15. It wasn't before. It was a couple of years before he got elected when he was given some random speech that if I ran, he also said I would, back in 2004. I could run as a Republican, and the Republicans are so stupid they'd vote me in. We can go on and on about stupid shit that he said. Let's talk about 2016 and beyond, Vince. 2016 and beyond, what's he done? Has he given us the best economy ever? Yes. Has he given us the lowest unemployment facts in history? Yes.
I don't think he can take full. I don't think he can take full credit for that. He walked into it. The same people will say Biden's been in office for 47 years. What has he done?
Obama perpetuated it. He perpetuated it. That's all Obama did. Obama got handed a mess, and he just gave out a bunch of money and just kept living in it until the end of his regime. I voted for him twice. Okay, so I know what he did and what he didn't do. What did he do in terms of anything else that Joe Biden is talking about in his 37,000 list policy of what he's going to do based on the last debate? I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that.
You're asking me to give a shit about anything he's saying. I don't.
Well, I'm trying to understand where you're saying there's an underbelly tone of racism, or
it's not about racism. It's hate. It's hate. Hate is hate.
I don't think there's hate. I think it's a matter of how people interpret it. And what you're seeing in the world and what you're seeing on CNN and Fox News.
I don't watch any of them.
I say both of them because they're both the right and left wing medias. They're both purporting, they all, spew hate. It's not our candidates that are spewing this hate. It is the media. The media is the biggest enemy of the people right now, hands down. Because without the media, we could all come to our own decisions. They're all absolutely crazy. And they radicalize the ideas. They're the ones that put everything in everybody's head, not Biden, not Trump.
Well, they
Trump can
exacerbate the
say
things they
something
say.
and the media just throws it into a tizzy.
Yes, they exaggerate it. But they have to be said first for them to be able to use those sound bites and use them. Yes, they
Well, I mean,
exaggerate them. I agree.
let's give an example. Okay. You got CNN, Dom Lemon, and Chris Cuomo. They're the two most extreme radical left crazy people. When they talk, my skin crawls. Okay. Now I'll go to the other side. Fox News, Tucker Carlson, Sean Hannity. They make points that I agree on, but they still make my skin crawl because it's 50% or it's 30% truth to the rest of the lie.
With everyone you just mentioned.
They
With
all
everybody-
lie
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they all have their agenda that they're pushing. I watch them both. I laugh at both of them and I come up with my own opinion.
More people should do that. But I'm not talking about them. I try to stay away from that. You know, I try to stay away from them completely. I don't watch much. If I will watch Tucker Carlson. He makes me laugh, and he is intelligent in the way he crafts truth and then throws in the agenda, which is the same as Cuomo. You know, it's like it's exaggerated. It's entertainment, and it's not entertaining. It's ripping away at the fabric of society. You know, but why is something not done? Because we're a corporatocracy. You know what I mean? If it's, you can't tear down the media, you can't tear down free speech. That's, you know, the fact, but why isn't something being interjected that's truthful on a grand scale? Money's being spent in stupid places, you know, big pharma, big, you know, like we have so much money here
today. Big pharma, they're out of control. Our you know, people, I mean, are we really going to continue to deal with, you know, increased costs and health crisis?
We can't.
You know, I mean, can we not just get both parties to agree on something for once?
Yeah, for once.
I'd love to think that Trump was capable of that, but he's so narcissist that I don't think he's willing to, unless somebody says, Donald, you're right, we want to kiss your ass.
They have to. If he gets
not
back
going
in
to
office,
let him.
They got to. Like, that's, if you really care about this country and he gets the election, then you're going to have to work to prop him up. You know what I mean? You got to. Right. Otherwise, I don't know what's coming, and I don't like how it feels.
Stop that, please. Thanks. Sorry, I had to tell my kid something.
And so I mean, I'm anti-politics. I'm anti-politics in the way that partisan politics. I don't think there's any value here. I think we continue to be robbed, and then we get forced into voting for the party that robs us the less. You know. You get it?
I'm gonna kill my kid in a minute, dude. But go ahead.
Yeah, no murders. Can't do murders.
You know, just making a lot of noise in the background. No, yeah. What are your thoughts, if I may ask you, what are your thoughts about, you know, this whole new information about these emails? You know, a lot of people from the left think that it's very convenient timing, that it's, you know, it's a duplicate of Hillary in the 2016 election. You know, and it's the same, you know, same thing. I don't believe in Russian disinformation. I think the media has already proven that it's not. You know, what I'm thinking is that if it was a campaign, a smear campaign like it was Hillary, it would have come out a lot sooner. It came out so fast, and now it's just continuing to unravel. I mean, you've got a lot of things, and I've got a lot of notes, which I told you I'd be talking about this. It's you know, this new guy that's come out, he was a business partner of Hunter's. I mean, how does the left seriously go away from this? And I have heard so many people say, well, the Trump kids have done the same or done things. We don't have the Trump kids on video or on audio tapes involving Donald Trump in, you know, overseas affairs and collaborating with communist parties on tape. Now, there's certainly theories. Everybody says, oh, he did it, he's guilty, but there's nothing. We have smoking guns right now, smoking guns, and nobody's putting any credence to it. I'm blown away by this. And we just saw the big tech, all the big tech were on, they were all interviewed today in Senate based on their, blocking the information from the New York Post about the Hunter Biden emails. Now it's getting bigger. Bob Alinsky has come out on tape. He had a conversation. It was taped. Rob Walker was one of the intels that were involved that basically said, and this was a live recording. He said, "Why would you do this? You're going to bury us all." This is, right to the heart of the details of this story. It's huge. And nobody's talking about it, Vince. What are your thoughts on this? Why isn't the left?
Everyone's talking about it.
Why are they just not? Not even the left. Why is the media refusing to focus on this?
I don't know. I don't. That's the thing. Like, I don't. So videos come out, tapes come out. Can they be doctored? Sure. Now there's a system in place that, and this is the same thing happened to Trump. They attacked Trump like this right before election. It's the same thing. They all do it. They're not. It's no different. Now we can say there's more evidence. I haven't seen it, but I don't have to. That's not my job. I'm not the guy prosecuting the case. So the point I make is there's this big rush now, which isn't coincidental. A few weeks before election time, there's politics involved. So when politics get involved, me personally, I'm out. Then there's a system that will.
You just said you're voting against Trump, which means you're voting for, I'm assuming that means you're voting for Biden, unless you want to go on record right now and say that you're not voting for either candidate.
No, I'm voting. My vote will get cast for Biden against Trump.
Well, and then so in my opinion, you are supporting a candidate that's involved in major conspiracies that have taken millions of dollars into their own pockets from communist countries.
We don't know
Biden,
this.
He's gone. He's not even. Yeah.
We could just like they convicted Trump before he went to. Just like they did that.
We do know this. These are documented. These have been corroborated. This has been made factual in the last 48 hours. It's been made factual. The FBI has the tapes. That's another story.
If the FBI had the case,
going to go down from this, dude.
Well, good.
They had it. They didn't do anything about it.
If
so that's okay.
If there's somebody,
think the FBI, and the FBI isn't involved in this just as much as anybody else now? He is. He's fucked. He held on to this evidence.
We're sitting in this space.
Held on to this evidence.
We're sitting in this space looking at social media. There's people out there that have spent their entire lives looking for a scandal like this, that know forensic evidence, that know that they just know this is what they do day in, day out. And they've been waiting their entire lives to be on the right side of this type of scandal. I find it hard to believe that they wouldn't be surfacing right about now if there was substance to it. I'm not saying there's not. And if there is, go to hell. There's a place for you to rot. Same with Trump.
Seriously, I want you to be honest with me. How much research have you done into these emails in this particular aspect of the case, which I've done hours and hours of everything that's come out so far, trying to be somewhat, balanced in my opinions, because I know a lot of it was bullshit. Mm-hmm. And I'm expecting some of it to be bullshit, but the more that comes out, Vince, the worse and more incriminating it is becoming. You have first-hand parties. And again, unless you research it, you don't know, which is probably 90% of the Democratic Party. They're choosing to ignore it because your media source is choosing to not even report on it.
I don't have a media source.
Listen, if Hunter Biden's last name was Hunter Trump, what do you think would be going on C-SPAN and CNN right now? It would be a melee.
Yeah, sure. It would.
But you have to
I thought you were asking me. What would I'd be like, more politics.
It's not politics, dude. It is politics, but it's something you've got to listen to. All right. If you've got Donald Trump and Donald Trump Jr. on tape with any type of official talking about bad money being exchanged, which there's none. None. Never has been. Never. None. If there was, I'd be the first person to say you guys are pieces of shit. But now we've got those tapes, and they're on the other side. Big guy, Joe Biden. Come on, dude. Come on, man.
There's
I'll give you Joe Biden's clear, his given quote.
there's a system in place to take care of these things. So if it comes out, that's what the system will do. If he's guilty, he's going to go to prison. I mean, it's just that simple.
But you've got to form an opinion on this, Vince. It's
not going to skew my vote. It's because I'm not voting for him. I don't believe he's the right guy. I just believe he's the easier enemy. That's it. That's my stance. Like
I thought about the same thing, but I had Hillary or Donald Trump. I just chose not to vote. You're choosing, in my opinion, because this is, somewhat of a debate. It's a discussion, but it's a debate. In my opinion, you're choosing somebody who is proven to be crooked and has a lot of, bad things going against him right now.
That's both of them.
Are proven to be harmful to the American people, and his greed. The greed of him and his family is just preposterous.
It's both.
Donald Trump. How is Donald? Look,
it's both.
I get it. There was talk about it. There was not videotapes and text messages and emails like there is about Biden. Okay, about the Trumps. Secondly, if we're going to talk about the Trumps being greedy, what the fuck do they have to be greedy about? They were millionaires before they got into this. They'll be millionaires afterwards. Joe Biden got into this. He had $1 million. Now he has how many millions of dollars that have been transferred in through everything else? It's insane.
All of them. That's the campaign finance. But why are they spending that kind of money to get that?
That I watched a video of Hunter Biden getting a blowjob while he was being videoed on a camera, while he was videoing the girl with his own cell phone and smoking crack at the same time. Look, I know Hunter Biden's not running for president.
No,
okay?
he's not.
But do you think that Hunter Biden, knowing what he does, should ever be allowed anywhere near the White House if his dad is somehow elected president?
Don't know. I don't know.
Really?
I look.
You don't know.
If you don't think the Trumps have had their share of orgies, then you're crazy.
They're not on video.
It doesn't matter if they're on video or not.
There's not a video of Donald Trump Jr. smoking crack while he's getting a blowjob.
But that's relevant to me.
Give me that video and I'll say no. They are not fit for office. But right now, we have a candidate.
They're not fit for office anyway. But, they're not. They're just not. They're not. They were never fit for office. Neither's fit for office. We're in a two-party system that doesn't do anything to service any of us.
I wish they would have got the porn star on video, but they didn't. Did he do it?
Yeah. It doesn't even matter.
He did, but it does. It's an image. It's an image.
Do you know what I can do with images?
Joe Biden comes up and becomes president. Every single country will laugh at us because they're going to show Hunter Biden Jr. with a crack pipe in his mouth.
What about Ivanka naked? You know what I mean?
There's thousands of videos, dude. He's fucked. It's going to be all over.
We're talking about stupid shit like that because Ivanka was a playmate. You know what I mean? And Donald Trump has a string of these relationships and
like talking about playmates and blowjobs and porn stars. I'm talking about the potential president's son smoking crack while getting a blowjob, videoing it with his cell phone with another camera he knows is videoing him. Really, dude?
We're in that day and age. I mean, what do you think, dude? We're in
that day and age. That ain't the day and age that I want for my presidency.
Fucking George Bush was caught. What do you think would have happened to George W. had there been videos when he got caught? If everybody had a cell phone.
What did we just say earlier about both of us, Vince? If there were videos back in the day,
that's the point I'm making. That's the point I'm making is now this shit will continuously come out. But I'm saying it's irrelevant.
I'm not going to run for president. You're not going to run for president.
Oh, no, I'm not. I know better.
I'd get killed in a mayoral election. Right?
Yeah.
It's about what is right and what's wrong.
Don't talk about what's right and wrong because neither's right.
Neither is right. Neither one of them.
That's where we can agree. That's where we can agree. Neither is right. And I'm not voting for Biden. I'm voting for who I think is the easiest to get out of that position. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong.
I just think that your position of your hatred for Donald Trump,
I don't
it
hate Donald Trump.
mirrors.
I don't hate Donald Trump.
But you're saying, but no. You've already made a couple points, and the points that you've made are the same arguments that I make and that you've agreed with are from the left. But I'm giving you some examples that I feel strongly outweigh, and you haven't really came back other than saying, okay, Donald Trump allegedly did the same things. I'm giving factual evidence right now of why I believe one versus the other.
And I'm telling you, and I don't want to bore people with too much of this back and forth, but I don't care about those things. Those things don't matter to me on his side or on the other side. They don't matter to me.
Foreign policy, then.
What's that?
What do you think about foreign policy? The only reason why I want Trump in office is because of the work that he's done with the world leaders. Nobody's given him any credit to the peace in the Middle East that he's creating, and several other aspects to foreign policies that are they make sense. He's not going in to fight with guns. He's going in with a pen and a paper and a calculator.
I don't think the guy's inherently bad. I don't think he's inherently bad. And Joe is part of the system, part of the militarized the military industrial complex. He came up in that. That is one thing that Trump has going for him is he's not that. But if you're in office, you're going to be that. You have no choice, or you wind up like Kennedy. You know what I mean? Like that. Those are the haves, the real haves. I got nothing personal against Donald Trump. I don't like him. Would I hang out with him? We slept around when we were kids. I never once said I was going to grab a girl in the pussy. I never said that.
But you've never done that either, have you, Vince?
No, just walk. No, but I've talked about it and I've slept around. But I never said I'm just going to grab her in the pussy because I'm a celebrity and I can do anything. Like there's a difference. There's a slight difference.
Oh, come on.
And it's irrelevant too.
It's not relevant. You're talking about like something. I mean, okay, I get it. So, that is a very demeaning thing to say about women. I understand that, but that is so 2014, 15. I mean, come on, dude. We're talking about, he's already done 4 years. He's already, gained, I mean, we did have the best economy in the history of the United States, the highest Dow Jones, lowest unemployment rate amongst Asians, Blacks, Mexicans, everybody, Latinos, the whole nine. COVID hits. And Nancy is standing in downtown, downtown San Francisco saying, come on down to Chinatown. We're good. At the same time, she's saying Trump didn't act fast enough. Then he's be called xenophobic because he shut off the border lines with China.
It's politics.
I mean, and then you got Joe still, denying that he said these things.
It's politics.
The left is speaking out their ass from one side or the other. And Donald Trump has stayed consistent on all of his theories, all of his points, all of his directives, everything he wants to do, he stayed consistent. It's the left that's bouncing all over the place, looking for any reason they can to dispel Trump and trying to find any reason.
See this right here?
The impeachment sham. I mean, the only reason why I'm a Republican voter this year is because of Adam Schiff. That is the only reason why I'm a Republican this year. Adam Schiff is a piece of shit, and I have yet to find the biggest piece of shit on the right side. I want to say it's probably somewhere around Chuck Schumer or
Mitch McConnell.
I'm not a big fan of McConnell. Okay, I think he does a lot of snowball shit. Yeah, right. I don't really like that guy at all. But I haven't found anybody that's anywhere comparable to Adam Schiff. And that guy's, I mean, he is the reason that that the Democratic Party has no faith, that nobody believes in him. Because they keep putting this guy out there. The tapes came out and they said you got him on tape again saying Russian disinformation, which has already been debunked. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, have you seen the social dilemma? Have you seen it yet? Don't debunk social disinformation. I mean, they're out there, they're doing their thing. There's a lot. I would, if I were a foreign country, I would. This is the easiest tool to use to infiltrate the people. So I'm not saying this is. Don't know the specifics. That's
I know
way past my security
used
clearance.
against. It's
What's that?
being used against the right. The left is using this big
It's
tech.
being used against everybody, Brian.
It's
Everybody.
being used, Vince. It's being used more against the president than it is against the president-elect.
Artificial intelligence has no bias.
The
So
candidate, presidential candidate. Sorry.
watch Social Dilemma. Like that's really the conversation that needs to be had, is that we're all cyborgs. And until we admit that we're cyborgs, that we're being programmed daily with what's being put in front of us. And I'm not saying conspiracy theory this way or that way, AI in general. I think a lot of the confusion around coronavirus has to do with misinformation that keeps getting spewed out by AI, not a conspiracy. Not a conspiracy. People are going to gravitate towards information that they want to believe. And if you want the earth to be flat, you're going to find your people. It's going to happen. In this day and age, you're going to find somebody who supports that, and it's going to be a group. So there's a problem in social media. And we're all being governed by it because there's so many people, like you said, they didn't give a shit about politics at all until just recently. There's no mistake in that social media has made us take interest. And then with the way politics are, they polarize. They use these little sound bites, which are bullshit. They'll pick a stance and then, oh, I believe that. I'm going to go with that. Now I'm against this. You know what I mean? And we got all this fighting amongst us as human beings, and it has everything to do with this. And if we think that foreign nationals aren't manipulating, and that we're not as a country, you can bet your ass we're doing the same thing in other places. That Arab Spring, you don't think we had anything to do with that? You can bet your ass we did. This is the most powerful tool on the face of the planet. When this gets taken away, that's when I'm going to be scared of, okay, martial law, maybe. You know what I mean? Holocaust, maybe. When they take away this piece of information, but they won't right now because it's valuable. It pits us against each other. Divide and conquer is not a new strategy. You know what I mean? The only reason I don't want Trump in is because me and you talked about how both sides are ridiculous, right? But you got some passion for some of the things that Trump did. That passion, any moderate bit of passion does not dismantle the two-party system. So my belief is with Biden in there, we'll take that passion on the Trump side. They can line with us and we can get them all out. Let's get them all out. That's my idea. That's why I want him there. Not because he's worth a damn to me, but because I think it's going to be a harder fight with people that passionately believe in Trump. Well, no, this system's okay because my guy's okay. Let's get that guy out, not because he's bad or whatever. I don't care what anybody thinks about him personally. I would watch his reality show again, but fucking, let's turn our passion as people against that government. 4 more years of somebody we kind of believe in keeps us stuck. And that's what Hillary would have done.
Vince, you talk a lot about theory, okay, but when we discuss things, you lack a lot of facts.
What's the theory?
I talk about you talk about a lot of theoretical options. I like to think about, I was thinking that we would have a discussion and there would be particular segments of topics. Okay. And I was prepared for going into topics. We're having a generalized discussion of theoretical, opinions. And, I have my opinion of both the left and right. Do I think the right is perfect? No, I just told everybody before we started this, I voted Democrat my whole life. I did not vote in 2016, okay, because I didn't like either candidate. I am a business banker. I have real estate. I've gone through the gauntlet. I've raised children. I have kids in college, kids in high school, kids in grade school. I've seen the changes, and I've seen what the left and the right bring to the table. I have not seen anything from the left and it scares me to have a candidate in a position where I don't think he's going to even serve out his full term.
I understand why you're voting Trump.
I have to look at, am I voting for Kamala Harris, who has radical, extreme leftist ideas, okay, which the Green New Deal and all these trillions of dollars that are going to be get thrown at, new programs and, deregulations of many different aspects that they have gone on record and admitted as fact that this is the policies and the campaign that they're running on. Okay. I can't swallow that.
I understand.
I can't swallow that from knowing what I've heard.
I understand your stance. Trust me. I don't believe in the system. I believe the system needs to go. So there's no disconnect really in what we're saying. It's just you still believe there's, I don't want to speak for you. There's part of the system that can be
I
salvaged.
think there's more corruption. I think there's more corruption on the left than there is on the right. How about that? That is my opinion.
Right, I get that.
Nobody has to agree with that.
Right. Corruption is corruption, though. Evil is evil. I'm not saying they're evil, but corruption is corruption. So it all has to go, in my opinion. And maybe I'm radical in my ideas. It's not a theory, though. It's not a theory. This is how revolutions happen.
Giving me a reasonable explanation as to why Donald Trump shouldn't remain president. It's just everybody hates him.
I don't
policy.
hate him. I just told you.
Racist. They can't give me an example of racism. You call him a xenophobe. You can't give me an example of xenophobe. You say he fucked up the coronavirus. Give me an example. There's no examples.
They can give examples and other people can refute them, and it's pointless. It's to me, that's it doesn't matter because everybody's going to have their thing. All I'm saying is I don't believe in either. And when you say there's no reason to not have him in there for me, other than he has a very fanatic base. Biden doesn't have that. He doesn't.
Biden's base is hyper. The Democratic Party might not be Biden. Okay, it's not Biden's base. The Democratic system itself, Democrats,
the DNC,
they are hyper partisan. Hyper partisan, not radical, hyper partisan, which means there's no ability to work with anybody, which means we are in a stalemate. We are at a deadlock. Nobody's going to get done.
Beautiful point, because we just suffered 8 years of that with Obama, who was hyper partisan then. The system has to go. The two-party system does not work for us. That's my only point.
Vince,
that's why I don't get into policy.
On that thought, I don't want you to go anywhere. I'm going to take a quick break. Start looking at some of these comments. Let's interact with the group. I'll be right back.
There's a lot of comments, Brian. This guy is like Tucker. Oh, Joe. Radical left. Yeah, Fox News. The program is broken. I agree with you, Rick Morty. The program is broken. I agree with ranked voting. So in Canada, they have a 5-party system. Or I think they can have more depending on the amount of support that they have from the public. But I'm all for equal airtime and caps on campaign finance, so that it's truly a system for the people, and that would be an official form, if you will, of ranked voting, because you have a Marianne Williamson, you have Joe Jorgensen, you have a Biden, you have a Trump, you have all these people in a line, and then everybody votes, and it's popular vote. And honestly, I wouldn't feel bad about losing in that system. I would say this feels like a democracy, because there's plenty of people out there that never get a voice. They get a voice, but then they get shunned by the DNC and the RNC, and then we're all like, well, no, time to knuckle down behind the one that has at least one or two of my policies in mind. So that's why the system is inherently flawed. It's got to go. It has to go. It has to go now. Like this has to be the last year of the two-party system, or the last run of the two-party system. If not, I don't know what happens beyond that, to be honest. I like it. If you look at the propaganda and the vitriol that was going between the two sides during 1930s Germany, it's the same. It's the same type of just getting nowhere nonsense, propaganda, racist, this. He's the reason that you don't have a job. finger pointing, scapegoating. This is fucking toxic. This is
In all
toxic.
fairness, Vince, either one of us lived in the 1930s, so we don't know what the hell it was like back then. We live in 2020, and this is the worst year out of anything I've ever lived through, and that's including 9/11, the blackouts.
Yeah.
This is an insane time for all of us to live in. Who knows who's the right candidate for what? You have your beliefs, I have mine, and that's what makes this democracy so great, is that you can hear something and then I can hear it entirely different, and that goes for everybody that's commenting. We can all hear things a certain way and come up with our own opinion and our own view on it. That's what makes America great.
That is.
So I'm all for whoever thinks what they want. I take no offense to anybody saying anything. And I don't take any offense to you, Vince. I really would hope that you and I could do this more often, to be honest with you, because there's a lot of topics coming up in the next few days. I'd like to get on this, and do this, half an hour. I got to get going here pretty soon, or else I'm going to get beat up by my old lady. But
yeah, I got to put
I've had a blast, and I really appreciate the time.
I appreciate that we can do it.
If you're ready to do this again tomorrow or the next day, I'm always good for this time of night to have a discussion. I love this kind of debate. Yeah, there's nobody right, there's nobody wrong, and I could be wrong in somebody's mind 100%. That's what makes us great.
We're not debating. We're laying out our viewpoints, and then we're letting people take it as they want, and then they can discuss.
Right.
As long as we're not attacking each other, that's what being human should be, right? We all have different life experiences.
With the vision, somebody says something, they have an opinion, and it goes back and forth on Facebook. It's just it's a nightmare, and I'm just like, hey, I didn't mean to tell you, you did, whatever your opinion is, I support it. I might not agree with it, but I respect it.
Yeah, right.
I respect it. I don't think any of us will know what the next step is unless we listen to all of each other. You've got to hear the opposition. You can never just hear one side.
Got to. And
got to hear the opposition.
It's valuable because you're not fanatic, but you get passionate. I can hear you. I can hear what you're saying.
I've always been an emotional guy, dude. I get crazy over anything.
I know. But I can understand.
You talk about making chocolate chip cookies, and I'll make it sound like I'm wrestling chocolate chip cookies.
Jared too. Jared's the same way. He'll like, bro, that ice is so fucking cold. I swear to fuck.
It's so great. Oh my god,
man. I know it's cold. Why are you attacking me? Well, no, it's good that we could have this conversation, and
I'd like to do it more, Vince. I'd like to have some more of this if we can do this. I'd do it every night of the week with you. Let's talk more tomorrow. We'll.
I do want to get in.
I'd like to have a little more structure. In our topics. Maybe we can get some topics from the audience.
Yeah,
and just that'd be guys going at it, and listen. I'd like to have a little more interaction.
And I want to get into the subprime thing with you.
If you could get into multiple screens, we could bring on a panel of people. We
can get as many people, 100 people on here. We don't want that many, but we can get as many people.
I'd like to see a panel of 4 of us all giving opinions. I think it would be really cool. I think that this type of discussion balances people. Who knows? Who cares what the audience is? It feels good to just liberate and get this shit off our chests and get it off our minds.
And go to bed
we're
not
all
angry.
Together at the end of the day. It doesn't matter. I don't care whose party you are. I don't care who you vote for. We could get hot, we could get debatable and, discuss with one another. But at the end of the day, I respect everybody's decisions.
There's friends that vehemently disagree with me in Hazel Park on Facebook, but I know they take a bullet for me and not do the same for them.
Well, same here. I don't agree with all the things you say, just like you don't agree with me. Not everybody like me. Not everybody's going to like me. I don't really care. I just do me, and I'm here to raise my family and, God willing, make it long enough to give back and do what I can, continue to do. But it doesn't matter what president's in office, if it's Biden or Trump, we're all going to be fine. We're all going to make it through this. We're all going to continue to be the Americans that we are.
I believe that.
So,
yeah, we always think it's the end, don't we?
Yeah.
I gotta think this is the end, and this is, and yes, it's gotten out of control. But we're resilient, and I do believe that compassion.
This was a true pleasure. Thanks for having me on the show. I really appreciate it, and I'd love to do this again.
We definitely will. Human condition. We'll get back to these comments. Give us some ideas, give us some topics. We'll get some panelists
Great.
on. We'll
Thank you.
we'll structure a topic, but thanks for coming on, Brian.
We'll
I
do.
enjoyed
We'll
it.
just make it so that we don't talk for 2 hours about the same thing. Let's get half an hour. Let's debate this topic. And tomorrow I think it should be, do you believe we should pack the court? We'll go there later. Have a good night.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Good night, Brian. Good night, everyone.
Take care, everybody.